Bang to 200-200.
Have you checked out iHeartRadio's free playlist yet? Not only do we have one perfect for any moment, we also created playlists perfect for any decade. Flashback to the 70s, the 80s, 90s, or stay right here in 2018. Plus, we're talking pop, rock, country, and we'll even break it down by decade and by the year. There are thousands of hand-curated iHeartRadio playlists. Find the one perfect for you. So try it now. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
Wow, it looks even better in person.
Oh, yeah. And I put nothing down on this bad boy.
Nice.
That's not even the best part. Navy Federal offers car loan decisions in 5 minutes or less, and you can do it all from your phone.
What?
Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
Get pre-approved for your next new or used car at Navy Federal Credit Union and find something new to brag about. Visit NavyFederal.org to learn more. Open to everyone in the armed forces, the DoD, veterans, and their families. Federally insured by NCUA.
I've always wanted a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor?
Hi, neighbor.
Mr. Rogers passed along friendship in his neighborhood, hoping we would do the same. So let's get started. Friendship. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
I'm KFC's extra crispy Colonel, and you're the extra busy regular person who has to make dinner for a family of 4. But you can shirk that responsibility because my extra crispy tenders $20 fill-up from KFC contains 12 extra crispy chicken tenders, 4 dipping sauces, 4 biscuits, 2 orders of mashed potatoes, and a side of coleslaw for just $20. Now that'll feed them. KFC, it's extra crispy good.
Pricing and participation may vary. Tax and substitutions extra.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Paid for by Open Jar. Attention current or retired railroad employees. If you or a loved one worked for the railroad and were diagnosed with any form of cancer, call the Railroad Employee Cancer Helpline now. You may be entitled to significant compensation. Exposure to benzene, asbestos, chemical solvents, and welding fumes can all cause cancer and are commonly found in the railroad work environment. Federal law allows employees to sue a railroad company if their injuries were caused by or contributed from the company's negligence. Injured employees can recover compensation costs for medical treatment and for the employee's lost income due to their injuries. If you or a loved one worked for the railroad and then developed cancer, call the Railroad Employee Cancer Helpline at 800-590-8915. Our network of attorneys have years of experience fighting for their clients' rights, and they're ready to fight for you. Time to file a claim is limited, so call now. 800-590-8915. That's 800-590-8915. 800-590-8915.
Dunc and Holder, back at you on a Monday, April 23rd. Once again, we are flying holderless. My cohort in crime, Larry Holder, has the day off, and Clyde Verdun, once again, ably filling in the cockpit here, along with Dave DeCorbier.
Had to get on my broom to get to work this morning. Figured the best way to get into the office today. So hopped on a broom, got in. It's going to be a great week.
Couldn't take a broom into the Smoothie King Center.
Couldn't do that.
On Saturday. They let fans know no brooms allowed. I was wanting to go outside at one point during the Pelicans Game 4 win against the Blazers and see if there was like a dumpster outside of the Smoothie King Center filled with brooms from fans that didn't get the notice that you couldn't bring a broom with you to the arena. And Sean Payton was sitting in the end zone. You know he wanted to end zone. What was it called? The baseline?
Yeah.
On the baseline with his son Connor. You know he wanted to bring a broom. But Pels sweep the Blazers. That's been the talk of the town all weekend. Moving on to the second round, and the New Orleans Pelicans, your New Orleans Pelicans, the only team that has moved on in the NBA to the second round. And who'd have thought that when the season began, and who would have thought that just a couple months ago when DeMarcus Cousins went down. We're going to talk about the Blazers-Pelicans series, this Pelicans playoff run, and their expectations with what looks to be a second-round matchup against the Golden State Warriors. We will also talk about the New Orleans Saints draft prospects. The draft begins on Thursday, so we're going to be hot and heavy this whole week, looking at the NFL draft and the Saints' possibilities at numbers 27 and on down in the draft as well, what other prospects they might be looking at. And we also will talk about the Zurich Classic, which also kicks off this week, a busy week in New Orleans, one of the busier sports weeks I can remember. Zurich Classic with its best field ever, 4 of the top 5 players in the world, 6 of the top 10, and 10 of the top 15 in the world in the field. And we will be broadcasting on site, on remote, out at the Zurich Classic starting on Wednesday of this week. Really looking forward to that. Hopefully the weather holds up. It looks like it's going to. And, man, what a great field they're going to have. And we're going to talk with Ron Higgins, our very own Ron Higgins, who was at the Smoothie King Center on Saturday to document that shocking sweep of the Blazers. I mean, it seemed inevitable at one point, but I think when the series began, no one predicted a sweep. So we'll talk to Higgs at 10:30 today about the Pels and also about the Zurich Classic because he's going to be our lead reporter on that. And then news breaking today, Clyde, just a little while ago, that Willie Snead will no longer be a New Orleans Saint. I don't think this is huge news. I don't think it's unexpected, but the Saints are not going to match that offer that he received from the Baltimore Ravens. So Willie Snead will now be a Baltimore Raven, and the Saints wide receiver core is pretty much set now as they head into the draft this week.
Yeah, I think we kind of saw the writing on the wall, and we've talked about this really the last couple of weeks, ever since the Cam Meredith talk, signing him, bring him on for what the Saints brought him on for, keeping in line with the then move of bringing back Brandon Coleman and signing him. I mean, we pretty much knew that the writing was on the wall, and we were just waiting for something to happen, and then lo and behold, it happened at the end of last week with the Ravens coming in and stepping in with their offer in upwards of $10 million, and the Saints are going to match that. I mean, you knew the Saints were going to match that. You felt that the Saints were just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it did. But I think we still have to give props to Willie Snead. He was a really solid piece. I'm interested to see what he's going to do in Baltimore, how they're going to use him in Baltimore. He gave a lot of good years to the Saints. He had his quality. It's unfortunate that last year ended the way that it did and that went the way it did because you felt like he never really got started. You felt like he was never able to get his footing under him. And that's always the unfortunate thing about guys, specifically when they move on the next year after that, because you feel like, you would have liked to have seen him have one more good year in your team's uniform before going to the next team and going to be a pretty good producer. And it won't be long before we see him because obviously Ravens Saints, October?
Yeah, it's in October sometime.
So we'll be seeing Willie Snead very soon.
And look, he fits in well with the Ravens. They need help at wide receiver, so he's going to get a great opportunity there. And if you want to join the program today, we got an abbreviated edition, by the way, today of Dunc and Holder. I neglected to mention that earlier. Baby Cakes baseball today at 11 o'clock. The Cakes are playing against the Oklahoma City Dodgers, so we will be off the air, before the 11 o'clock hour, probably about 10:50 or so. So we got an abbreviated edition. If you want to get involved in the program, now's the time to do it. 504-260-1280 is the number to call. And we'll be talking Pelicans and Saints draft. I'm going to drop my final mock draft tomorrow morning, and I've had an entire weekend of trying to figure out how I can arrange a trade for the Saints, and it's just difficult to do. I don't know if they can trade up high enough to get to the pass rusher that they need, but I would think that they're trying to figure out a way to do it because this draft, Clyde, is not really fitting in well for the Saints. The strength of this draft is the top 12 to 15 players, and then it drops off pretty well into another grade level, and most of the players that are going to be available at the end of the first round are probably going to be graded very similarly to the players you take all the way down in the end of the second round, maybe even the top of the third round. So there's not going to be much difference between being in the late first round spot where the Saints are at or being in the second or third round.
Yeah, and I think this is what we kind of talked about with everybody that we've had on the last month, really leading into now. It's go time, man. I mean, this is it. The draft is on Thursday, and now we're going to see what all these teams have been doing the last 2 months of the year since their seasons have ended, since college seasons have ended, since all these college games and pro days and the combine. We'll see now that, we'll see them go to work. And you're right. I think when we talk about the Saints, when I think we talk about going into this draft and knowing that the bulk of the quality of what you would probably want to find is in those top 20 picks, then it's not going to be a surprise, or it shouldn't be a surprise to most Saints fans to see what happens on Thursday, whether or not the Saints keep that, maybe trade down to get back into the second round and find some quality there. And I think with the way that we've seen free agency go for most of the teams, I think most of the quality teams that are picking later in the rounds, your Rams, your Patriots, your Eagles, your Vikings, that's why I think we saw so many of those teams do a lot of their work in free agency, because they knew that they were not going to, unless they were willing to really do something drastic and crazy, which we could see Thursday, not do something drastic and crazy, knowing that our free agency is going to be our quote-unquote draft. That's where we need to get better, and then we can hopefully find more guys in the draft, rookies, that we can develop into those next guys, next man up kind of thing.
Yeah, the consensus on this draft is that it lacks a lot of depth of impact players. We're not going to see the same level of impact talents that last year's draft had, where you had guys like Alvin Kamara and Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, there were all kinds of players that stepped in the NFL and made impacts right away. I think you're going to have a few of those this year, a handful. Chris Ballard, the general manager of the Indianapolis Colts, last week in his press briefing, his pre-draft press briefing, said that they have 8 non-quarterback elite talents graded in this draft. So if you throw in the 5 quarterbacks we all think are going to get drafted in the first round, that means about 13 players deep in this draft that are going to go at the top. I think this top of this draft, the first 10 to 12 picks, it's going to be crazy because you got a lot of teams that want to potentially trade in and get a quarterback. The Buffalo Bills being one. Miami Dolphins have been rumored that they may have interest. You don't know what Denver's going to do at 5, if they're going to take one of these quarterbacks that's left. So there's a lot of maneuvering, I think, going on right now around the league. But it also sets up very poorly for the Saints, because if you look at the players that are graded near the end of the first round, where the Saints are at, it's a lot of offensive linemen, linebackers, safeties, a running back in Darius Geis, positions that the Saints are not really in desperate need of help at.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do there. I wouldn't be surprised if they take an offensive lineman, because I think that's who will be the highest graded player on their board at 27. I'm anticipating that.
I mean, at the same time, though, we talk about those moves, and we talked about that with Mike Triplett specifically on Friday leading into the weekend, about just those types of drafts and the type of drafts that I think you would probably, at this point in stage of a career of both a franchise and a quarterback like Drew Brees and the offense and Sean Payton, I don't, most people would probably be somewhat, they're going to be the boo birds out at the NFL draft like there always are, mostly for Roger Goodell, which is deserved. But the rest is because, the rest of the picks are going to be, they're not going to be chic picks. I mean, once you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and once the Browns make both of their picks, which they're probably going to screw up, the rest of it's just carte blanche, man. You're just watching the draft just to see who takes who and who's going to get, who's going to be smart enough to take Saquon Barkley. Because clearly, I think, as we've talked about, Saquon Barkley is going to be a game changer for some franchise. If he goes to the right franchise, it can be best for him. He can make a really, really quick impact right away. But for the Saints, taking a lineman, as we saw last year, and like we talked about on Friday, you got Ryan Ramczyk, and you may not have known at that point that he was going to be basically an anchor on one side of the line. If you get another one, who knows where that guy could be going into next year.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Philip in Denham Springs is on the line. Philip, how you doing on Monday?
Good morning.
Doing good. I had a couple points, one about the coaching and one about the Pelicans in general. First, about the Pelicans in general. Man, I hope this just really cements the fan base in Louisiana with the Pelicans, because good example is I'll go into a local sports store here, and you'll have one little rack with 2 crap quality Pelicans T-shirts on it and nothing else for them. I'm like, man, nobody even talks about them and everything. Now this is getting people talking about them more.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
The Saints will always, they're like family. They're in my blood. They're in my DNA. Nobody will ever pass up the Saints. That's just not going to happen. It's like the Saints are family, and the Pelicans, to me, are just a really good friend. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair, yeah.
So it's one of those things. I hope people will come out and support them more. It is a major league franchise in the state, and they deserve it, win or lose,
No, I agree.
Now, coaching. look, I've been calling for Gentry's firing for the past couple years because his on-the-floor coaching has been horrible. But to be fair, I've been saying to all my friends that if they win a series, he deserves an extension, you know. Now, that being said, I'm going to give more credit for the on-floor coaching to Rajon Rondo than I will for Gentry.
I think that's understandable.
I think he's been doing it, and he will be a damn good head coach in this league. Mark my words.
He'll be certainly better than Mark Jackson, that's for sure, because, I mean, just his clout on the floor has been much, much better, and his decision-making has been so much better. So I think we can't agree with you more on that point.
So I think they'll probably give him a 3-year extension. Demps, I mean, he made some horrible moves, but this year he made up for it by some good moves. So, I mean, it's just, you know, so you got to give him an extension at the same time, you know?
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. Look, even if they come out the next series and lay an egg, I am totally satisfied with the way this season ended up. Yes, I want a championship, of course, but I don't expect it. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing massive improvement, and I'm telling you what, they're going to be one of the favorites in the West next season.
I agree, Philip. Hey, thanks for the phone call. Great points. And we'll touch on this on the other side of this break because I've got some comments along those lines. I'm actually writing a column about Dell Demps for later on this week, and it kind of dovetails into what you just said. I think made some very astute points. You're listening to Dunc and Holder, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us.
We're here in this new neighborhood to talk about the American dream. Looking good, boys. A dream that Navy Federal Credit Union wants to help you celebrate with a mortgage that you won't lose sleep over. Navy Federal offers 100% financing, no private mortgage insurance, and even no money down on a variety of conventional and VA loans. So start living your dream today. Subject to approval, 100% financing loans include an additional funding fee. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information. Open to the Armed Forces, the DoD, veterans, and their families. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Nothing changes America like a role model. I had one growing up. My name is John Hope Bryant. I wear a suit today because my dad wore a suit when I was growing up. But kids want to be rap stars, athletes, and drug dealers all too often because that's what they see in their neighborhood. My mission now is to give them something different to see, and you play a role in it. It's called America 2020 and Hope Business in a Box Academies. Go to OperationHope.org today and join the movement to make school cool once again. Visit us on the web at OperationHope.org.
Mr. Ed's Seafood and Italian Restaurant, serving the best fried chicken in town, fresh Louisiana seafood, as well as delicious Italian dishes. Try our daily chef specials or an overstuffed po' boy. Open Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. with 2 locations to serve you. In Bucktown at 1001 Live Oak between Bonneville and Lake Avenue, or in Kenner at 910 West Esplanade at Chateau Boulevard. Let Mr. Ed's cater your next event. Mr. Ed's Seafood and Italian Restaurant. 2 great locations, 1 great menu. Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House, now open in the quarter 7 days a week at 512 Bienville.
I'm KFC's extra crispy colonel, and you're the extra busy regular person who has to make dinner for a family of 4. But you can shirk that responsibility because my extra crispy tenders $20 fill-up from KFC contains 12 extra crispy chicken tenders, 4 dipping sauces, 4 biscuits, 2 orders of mashed potatoes, and a side of coleslaw for just $20. Now that'll feed them. KFC, it's extra crispy good.
Pricing and participation may vary. Tax and substitutions extra.
I'm Tony Goldwyn. 20 years ago, when my mom had lung cancer, she didn't have many choices. But today, you do. If you've been diagnosed with lung cancer, please visit standuptocancer.org/lung cancer to learn more.
Amazon stocks are up as the company reaches 100 million Prime subscribers. Over a 13-year period, Jeff Bezos has kept the number of Amazon Prime members a closely guarded secret. That news boosted the company's share price, which has taken a hit in the past month over reports that President Donald Trump wants to go after it with taxes and antitrust regulations and his tweets about its relationship with the U.S. Postal Service. And while we're on Amazon, word is the company is partnering with Best Buy to sell the next generation of Fire TV's edition of smart TVs in the U.S. and Canada. They announced Wednesday Best Buy will exclusively sell more than 10 4K and HD Fire TV Edition models from Insignia and Toshiba starting up this summer. Bill Gates is backing a plan to install a constellation of cameras in space that monitor the entire surface of Earth in real time 24/7. Earth Now plans to initially offer commercial video and intelligent vision services to governments and enterprises. Tech Update, Mike Moore, NBC News Radio.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Man, it just makes me want to jump around. The Pels have advanced to the second round against almost everybody's expectations. They've moved on to the second round for only the second time in franchise history. And listen to this statistic. They're only the third lower-seeded team to sweep a higher-seeded team since the NBA went to a 7-game first-round series in 2003. So 15 years, there have only been 3 lower seeds to sweep a higher seed. Pels just joined that elite company, and just kind of is a testament to how stunning this playoff sweep was. I think we all thought the Pels could win. I don't think any of us thought they would dominate the way they did. And to do it in spectacular fashion on Saturday, I mean, it was a really unique atmosphere at the stadium, the arena, I should say, on Saturday. The crowd, I mean, it's a 4 o'clock tip-off, kind of a weird time in the middle of a Saturday afternoon. There's a lot of stuff going on. It was a beautiful day. So there could be a lot of things pulling people away, but the arena was packed. It was packed early. And, man, the Pels put on a show. 131 points, the most in franchise history in the postseason. 2 players scoring 40 points in the game. That's the first time that's ever happened in franchise history. Yeah. I mean, it was a show they put on, and it would have been easy to let down. You're up 3-0. It's a weird time, like I said. Instead, they knocked it out of the park.
Ask Golden State about that, because that's literally what I was going to bring up today, is that if you want to talk about teams wanting to close a job when they need to, ask Golden State about how much they wish they would have closed that series out yesterday against Spurs.
Yes, no doubt about it. And what I was going to alluded to before the break when Philip called is I think this has been a season of redemption for Dell Demps. The general manager has been under fire here for a number of years. Only 1 playoff appearance in his first 6 seasons as general manager. They've had a lot of misfortune with injuries, but they've also had some bad moves. I mean, the Omer Asik deal was a terrible move. Doubling down on Eric Gordon was not a great move. I think overpaying Solo Hill is looking like not a great move. But that said, this year, if you just go the last 12 months and go line by line of the transactions that Dell Demps has made, he's hit a home run on almost every one of them, at least a solid single on almost every one, starting with Rajon Rondo in the offseason last July, followed up by Darius Miller and Ian Clark to very cap-friendly deals, getting veteran role players to shoot from the perimeter to fit into this offense. And then the biggest deal of all, saving the season, signing trading for Nico Mirotic, unloading a lot of salary cap dead weight and Omer Asik, Jameer Nelson, and Tony Allen. That saved the season. If they don't make that trade, they do not make the playoffs, and they do not salvage what has been one of the best seasons they've ever had. So credit to Dell Demps for making it work, and he had to, because his job was on the line and Alvin Gentry's job was on the line. And after Cousins got hurt, not a lot of people thought they could do what they're doing, including myself, but that trade changed everything for them. All right, let's go to the phone lines. David in Vegas, out in the Sin City, calling in as usual. What's up, David?
Hey, what's up, Jeff? Hey, what's up, Clyde? How you
What's going on, bud? How are you, man?
Oh, great. It's good to be on. We got, the Saints draft coming up. We got the Pelicans. First on the Pelicans, it was good to see them win that series. I think the last call that was on talking about, people need to support the team. I think, the team was down in the dumps for a while. I think it was just, that has a lot to do with it. And, now that they're getting some, they got some wins under their belt. They got a playoff win. I think you're going to see a lot more people support them in the community. And even outside, I live in Vegas, but, I'm a Louisiana guy, and I, born and raised there, and I still support all the teams. And, there's people outside the state that support them. So, it's good. It's good to see that besides the Saints, the fans are coming around and supporting the team, because, I was talking to my relatives. They're at the game, or one of the last games at the, in New Orleans, and it was a packed house there. So it's good to see that people are showing up and they're supporting it. So I'm really encouraged by that, and I think going forward it's going to continue. As far as the Saints go, guys, if I remember correctly, when we traded for Brandon Cooks, we were somewhere in the latter part of the first round. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I think it wasn't quite 27th, but it was down in the 20s.
Yeah, it was So basically, Jeff and Clyde, if we were able to move up to get this pass rusher, let's say it's a Marcus Davenport, if that's who the Saints really believe that that's the guy, because I don't even see how we could even get up anywhere in the top 10 to get, Charles. It's just unrealistic unless, but stranger things have happened. But that being said, if Marcus Davenport is the next best pass rusher, or perceived to be the next best pass rusher, from what all the mock drafts out there is showing, is that he's going to probably be gone anywhere between, let's say, 12 and 20. So in order for us to get in that range, I'm just using Brandon Cooks as an example. I think we ended up selecting Cooks at 20, right?
Yeah, I think it was right around there.
Yeah, so what did we have to give up, a first and a third to get him, I believe?
Yes.
So what do you think it's going to take? Do you think it's going to be like a first and a third or even an additional pick to get up in the top, and say between 12 and, 18? Because Green Bay, a lot of people are projecting him to go to Green Bay because they need a pass rusher. Green Bay, I think, picks like 14 or 15. So we would have to leapfrog Green Bay to get him. I'm using Green Bay as an example. He could obviously go to somebody else. But if you just based on all the mocks, a lot of people are picking him to go to Green Bay or Detroit. So somewhere in that range, what do you think we need to do to move up to get him?
Well, and that's a great point, David, and thanks for the call.
Yeah,
because I think those were great points about the Saints trying to trade up. That's what I think they will try to do. When I was working on my mock this weekend, I was doing everything I could to try and find a deal and a trade partner with the Saints that could allow them to move up and maybe get a Marcus Davenport. I could see that happening, and I really believe the Saints will do everything they can to try and move up, because this is a year where a lot of teams are going to want to trade down because of what we talked about earlier with the way the draft grades play out in this class. Some teams might want to move down and acquire more picks, and because the draft is not filled with scintillating prospects, it might not cost as much. It might not cost the Saints as much as past years to trade up as it has in other drafts because the way the makeup of this draft. So we'll see how it plays out. Let's take another break, and when we come back, we're going to get Ron Higgins on the phone, talk a little Pelicans, talk a little Zurich Classic. We'll also talk maybe a little about LSU football. They had their spring game down in Baton Rouge this weekend. You're listening to Dunc and Holder, Sports 1280. Stay with us.
Come on, that's right.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you by Holiday Inn West Bank.
Pleasant conditions to start the work week with plenty of sunshine, a few high, thin clouds, but much improved conditions behind a cold front that moved through on Sunday, bringing some damaging weather. Temperature-wise, starting off in the low to mid-50s and warming into the middle 70s by the afternoon. A really pleasant start to the week, and it looks like the stretch continues for several days. For Fox 8 Year Weather Authority and Bounce TV, I'm meteorologist Nakandra Norwood.
Enjoy a breathtaking view of the New Orleans skyline and the mighty Mississippi River from the top of the Holiday Inn West Bank Tower. With a view unlike any other, the Crescent Room is the perfect space for your next wedding, shower, or reunion. Meet their sales team and reserve your special day.
Introducing Sam 76, a revolutionary new beer from Sam Adams that combines refreshment and flavor. It's the perfect union of lager and ale that took over 13,000 hours and 60 different recipes to perfect. Roughly speaking, of course. The end result? Well, it's an easy-to-drink, refreshing beer perfect for every party, event, shindig, or get-together. We could go on, but you'll just have to try it to believe us. Sam 76. Fill your glass. Boston Beer Company, Boston, Massachusetts. Savor the flavor responsibly.
Here's a little fiction masqueraded as facts. Did you know that banks don't give loan modifications just because you're paying your mortgage loan late? A lot of people believe this and have been told this, but it's wrong. I'm John Hope Bryant, the founder of Operation Hope. Let us help you negotiate with your lender in a logical way with a HUD-certified counselor for free to save your home today. Call 888-388-HOPE today or visit our website for more tips at operationhope.org.
O'Reilly.
Defend your vehicle from harmful elements and restore shine with Armor All canister wipes. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up Armor All canister wipes for $3.99. Easily remove dirt, dust, and grime with Armor All canister wipes on sale for $3.99 at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Crashes happen when you don't watch out for others on the road. When biking, obey stop signs and traffic lights. When driving, stop for people in crosswalks. When walking, obey traffic signals. Being safe is a shared responsibility. Remember, you're not alone on the road.
Flo here with a word that's just weird. Terry cloth. Who exactly is Terry? And why does he get his own fabric? Did he journey below SPF 50? Fight off some weeds in his daffodils? How about a word for everyone? Flotection. Yeah, I just made it up. But I'm not making up how great it feels when me and Progressive protect your new home. Ever think of that, Terry? No. Terry only thinks of himself.
Save an average of 17% on car insurance when you bundle home and auto through Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Whether you bless those boys or take flight, we're talking your teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back. Clyde Verdun alongside myself. Oh, okay. Well, Clyde Verdun and Dave DeCorbier here at our studios in downtown New Orleans, Louisiana, the greatest city on the planet. And we've got about 15 more minutes in this show. I can't believe how quick it's going to go by. And Baby Cakes Baseball will take over here at Sports 1280 at the top of the hour as they play the Oklahoma City Dodgers today. Little day baseball out at the Shrine. And wouldn't be a bad day to play hooky and go out there.
Yeah, it wouldn't be terrible to go out there and get see a little minor league baseball. Enjoy the day, enjoy this weather. Hopefully it sticks around, which it looks like by all accounts it will stick around this into this weekend, which is, we've talked about it. This weekend is, the Zurich starts on Thursday. It really starts today and kind of with the Pro-Am and stuff. You've got the NFL Draft. You're going to have Pelicans kicking up possibly out in Golden State, and first week of the Jazz Fest.
Yeah, it's a busy, hectic week, and through the years, the Zurich has not had a lot of luck with the weather. So let's hope it's good weather this week, along with Jazz Fest. People coming in from all over the world for Jazz Fest. So it'd be nice to have good weather for both those events. Staples of the April calendar in New Orleans. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and as we effort to try to get Ron Higgins back on the line, I guess I'll do two things. First, I'll give you this day in Louisiana sports history.
Much anticipated, long awaited.
And literally, this one, it's so spot on. I'm almost scared that this book knew what we were going to talk about today.
April 23rd, what year?
2005. On this day in 2005, the New Orleans Saints vaulted 3 spots by completing a trade with the Houston Texans and selected the 2004 Outland Trophy winner, University of Oklahoma tackle Jamal Brown, with the 13th overall pick in the NFL Draft. The 6'6", 318-pounder allowed 1 sack in a 3-year All-America career with the Sooners and was considered the top right tackle prospect in the NFL Draft. To move up 3 spots, the Saints surrendered to Houston their 3rd-round pick in the 2006 draft. Brown was the 5th offensive tackle selected by the Saints in the 1st round, including Kyle Turley, Willie Rofe, Jim Dombrowski, and Stan Brock. After drafting Brown, the Saints switched to defense, picking Nebraska free safety Josh Bullocks in the 2nd round and Connecticut linebacker Alfred Frencher in the 3rd round. LSU defensive end Marcus Spears was chosen by Dallas with the 20th pick. The first-team All-American, Walter Camp Foundation American Football Coaches Association All-American. The Baton Rouge native had 34.5 career sacks, career tackles for losses, and 19 career sacks at LSU, and that was on this day in 2005. So we talk about taking offensive linemen early in the beginning of the show, and literally today's note in Louisiana sports history, the Saints trade up to get Jamal Brown.
Yeah, I remember that. I was the beat writer back then, and Jamal Brown was the Outland Trophy winner, and that was a huge selection. He ended up being an All-Pro and a very solid left tackle. He played right tackle as well. All right, we've got Ron Higgins, our very own Ron Higgins, great columnist at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, and great friend of the program. Ron, I want to get your thoughts immediately about the Pelicans, because that's been the talk of the city right now. I don't think anybody expected them to sweep Portland. I think we all thought it was a good matchup, but look, you've been covering the team now. You've been at the arena the last couple of nights. What are your thoughts now that they've moved on to the 2nd round, the only team in the NBA that has moved on to the 2nd round?
Well, for one,
they can win when they don't play well. They didn't play well that day. They know they didn't play well, and they were still able to make plays at the end to win. They've been able to make plays to win now at the end of games for at least 2 weeks, and ultimately that's what you have to do in this league. Games are tight and they come down to the end. Now, they won their first 2 games kind of that way, played well in the last few minutes and won games. Third game was a blowout. The other day was tight, had to make plays. And people, I've already been asked, what do you think they'll do against the Warriors? Well, I'm not writing them off completely yet. And the only reason I'm saying that, as long as Curry is not playing, I'm not saying that all the matchups are great for him. What's going to come down to, when you play Golden State, you probably have a starting line. I think the Pelicans starting lineup matches with what they got. It's the bench that's the problem, and they just keep bringing guys off the bench who can score. And the Pelicans have to match that. And if they want to compete in this series, it's going to be the bench. The bench has to play well and has to produce points. That wasn't always the case in this first series. Basically the Stars really kind of, they did most of the scoring. The bench was okay, not great. And ultimately in the playoffs, most of these teams starting fives are pretty comparable, but benches usually win playoff games. So I think, and like I said, they want a shot at the Warriors. And, of course, the Warriors showed yesterday they can bleed. The Spurs cut them. A Spurs team that had nothing to play for. Pop's wife died, and he's not there, and they could have packed it in. So it kind of showed me that, the Warriors, it ain't going to be no sweep. It could be 6 games. It could be 7 games. I think I like the Pels' chances. I like them now more than I did a week ago.
Yeah, and I tell you, Alvin Gentry said something after the game on Saturday that opened my eyes. He said that he is now seeing the Pelicans' offense the way he envisioned it working when he took the job a few years ago. They're moving the ball around. You and I have talked about it. The ball movement is so good, and they have so many good passers in that starting lineup. I think the addition of Mirotic has just been a revelation. I didn't know he was that good a defender. I didn't know he was that good a rebounder. We all thought they were just getting this kind of Euro outside shooter, stretch 4, and instead he's in there banging in the post with guys, trying to defend and block shots. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because one of the prevailing opinions around town that we're hearing is this team now the team that Alvin Gentry wanted to have all along, kind of a mirror image of the Warriors, kind of the small ball, can move, change positions, kind of 3-and-D, pace and space lineup?
Well, yeah, because that's where the NBA is going. That's where the NBA is going. You look at teams that won the title recently. That's where this league is going. It's going to, maybe a guy playing center who is 6'9", 6'10", who can shoot threes himself, surrounded by a bunch of good shooters. Think about this team compared to New Orleans' last playoff team, and think how different it is in style and how many shooters this team has. The team they had went to the playoffs before it got swept, they had like maybe 2 shooters, maybe 3 tops. This one's got everybody on this team can shoot threes, and that's what the NBA has become. It's become a spread the floor and shoot threes, move the ball. And the essence of team basketball is find the open guy. And the teams that have done it the last few years the best have been the Warriors and the Spurs, and they're the kind of like the benchmarks of what the NBA has become. And I think the Pelicans now has a lineup that does that. And like I said, Alvin said that's what he envisioned it as. Yeah, he envisioned it as just like the Warriors, having a bunch of guys who can shoot threes, who can run all day and run, and basically go from there. So I like the lineup.
Ron, specifically, going into that, we watched these 2 games over the weekend, up in the press box, and just seeing not only the atmosphere of the arena, but how this team was able to feed off that. And, if it wasn't apparent that the Pelicans play a brand of basketball right now that is pleasing, is free-flowing to the eye, it's going to be hard to find that, around the rest of the league, specifically with how this team has found a way to gel at the right time in the NBA playoffs so far.
Yeah, Anthony Davis said, maybe the Portland slept on them. Well, maybe so. But, and And every series is different. And obviously, the defensive plan they used on Portland on their guards was outstanding until the last game when they kind of figured some things out, but by that time it was too late. I don't know if you can do the same thing against the Warriors you did against the first round, but I do know this team is playing really confident. It feels like it can beat anybody. I think the addition of Rondo has made a huge difference in this team, not just in the fact that he puts the ball where it's supposed to be at the right time, but the fact his leadership has been invaluable. He's out there calling out plays of the other team. He knows what a team calls a play, and Rondo kind of translates it to Pelicans plays. Like this is like our so and so. So it's a really, really good team right now, and I like his chances. Like I said, I'm not writing them off. If Curry comes back, maybe I give more of an edge to Warriors than I give now. But even if Curry comes back, how quick can he get back in a rhythm? It's tough to sit out that long and get back in a rhythm.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it was going to be a little bit of a feeling out period for him coming back just to see how confident he is back on the court. But the one thing that concerns me a little bit is, and I agree, Ron, I don't know if they can do the same type of defensive strategy against the Warriors because, they took basically Lillard and McCollum and trapped, got the ball out of their hands, and they were pretty much saying, Al-Farouq Aminu, go ahead and beat us. He buried a few threes, but he's not going to beat you with his outside shooting. If you do that against the Warriors, you got Kevin Durant and Draymond Green out there, and those guys will knock down shots all day long. So I think they're going to have a different strategy against the Warriors than they did against Portland, who was pretty limited beyond those two guards as far as scoring is concerned, because AD could pretty much do what he wanted inside defensively against that Blazers offense. There wasn't anybody in there that was going to threaten him in the paint.
No, it was a really good defensive plan. And the thing was that the Portland guards, they tried to be unselfish at first, and then they realized there's nobody hitting shots. We got to do this ourselves. And they couldn't do it themselves. Last game almost, but the rest of the time couldn't do it themselves. The Warriors are a problem. They got a bunch of shooters. They got shooters coming off the bench too, and personnel-wise, as a team overall, yeah. That's why they're the second best team in the West because they have so many people. That's why they're defending champions. They have so much personnel. But again, New Orleans has got to play its very best, and its bench has got to play well. His bench has got to give us – the bench has to give more offense than it's been given. It hasn't been given a lot of offense. You have certain guys step in and hit shots. But as far as, not letting a team cut into a lead or extending it, they just need to do a little bit more than they've done.
Talking to Ron Higgins, columnist for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Switching gears real quick, Ron, the last one before we let you go. The Zurich Classic kicks off this week. You'll be leading our coverage out at the TPC of Louisiana. And, man, what a field they've compiled. So you have to give Steve Worthy a lot of credit. They've got 10 of the top 14 players in the world, I think 4 of the top 5. So what are you going to be looking forward to this week in addition to, hoping for good weather, which it looks like we're going to get this week. But it looks like a great lineup of, if you're a golf fan, you got to get out to the TPC of Louisiana.
Well, absolutely. You got the current winners of all 4 majors. That's pretty stout. It really is. They got some. They got some nice names in this tournament. Anytime you get Jordan Spieth and Sergio Garcia in the same place, that's pretty good. Justin Thomas. They've got a bunch of good players in this thing, and I guess it's been attractive to players because they kind of like that 1 week where they don't feel like it's all on them, and they play with another guy, and it's a team, and you don't get to hardly ever get that unless you're on a Ryder Cup team or something like that. So I think they really like this tournament. I'm looking forward to good weather because I've been out there before when it's been they almost blew the press tent down one year.
Yeah, they've had a lot of luck in that area.
Yeah, but I'm just everything stays dry and the weather like it is. I think it'd be anybody's ball game. I've been studying the field, and I mean, the team that won last year, I mean, Jonas Blitz has been hurt a lot this year. I think the Kevin Kaiser team that almost won last year, that forced the playoff, I think they're going to come back with a vengeance this year and want to finish for the job. So a lot of good players. I'm looking forward to the guy I wrote about, Sam Burns, former LSU golfer. He's been kind of bouncing back and forth, between the PGA Tour and the Web.com. He needs, if he finishes fourth or better in this tournament, his team, he'll get exemptions the rest of the year on the PGA Tour, and he's going to get his tour card because he's like fourth in the Web.com money standings. He'll get his card at the end of the year, but to get unlimited exemptions for the rest of the year would be huge for him, and he just needs to finish fourth better in this.
All right, that's Ron Higgins. I'll see you out at the course this week, Ron. Thanks for the time, buddy.
All right, see you.
Ron Higgins will be leading our coverage from the TPC of Louisiana. We'll be out on site starting on Wednesday. Larry Holder will be back with us tomorrow, back in the saddle. And we will be back here at Dunc and Holder with all kinds of coverage of the NFL Draft and looking ahead to the Zurich Classic. So for Larry Holder, who's not here, for Clyde Verdun, Dave DeCorbier, thanks for joining us. Dunc and Holder, Sports 1280. See you tomorrow.
Every summer needs a soundtrack.
Blow out the candles, baby. The cakes win.
And your soundtrack to summer is heard here. The Baby Cakes are in action today at 11 on Sports 1280. New Orleans, home of Cakes baseball.
Around the world, there are young people who face a difficult decision: continue their dream of education or drop out to help support their families. In a single moment, you can help them write a new story. See